an Eagle Scout with the late great Troop 9, which no longer exists, out of Heathcote. But I also covered, in addition to playing sports, I covered sports for the Scarsdale Fire. And back then I wrote about not just, this was I guess a little unusual, but I was the first person to write regularly about the women's teams as well as the guys' teams. So I used to have 9 or 10 articles in the paper every week, sometimes covering myself. I think I was Bob Goldwater and byline in the paper, and I was Bobby Goldwater when I did something for the team. So, but the concert choir set me on the road to getting involved more in sports and entertainment. And this followed me through college, through my career. I spent 24 years in Madison Square Garden. Left there in 1998 to become the first general manager of Staples Center in Los Angeles, the arena where the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Kings, the Sparks, and the AFL Avengers play. Started a new business division for them, then moved to Washington, D.C. in 2000 to become the president of the D.C. Sports and Entertainment Commission, and it was my responsibility to try to lead the effort to bring Major League Baseball back there. We had a good result. The Washington Nationals just completed their 3rd season, and I started a consulting company a few years ago in the sports and entertainment industry. None of this might not have happened without being here and joining concert choir. And as silly as that sounds, you never know when something is going to just hit just right or affect you in some way in a long-term basis. So if you get the opportunity to try things, whether it's the drama club, the Russian club, you know, the math club, the bake team, whatever it is, give it a shot. You might find out that it's going to lead to something very, very special. And I probably wouldn't be standing in here sharing time with you all day if frankly, I didn't join concert choir. So that is my brief little history, and whatever you want to talk about, I'm happy to do. Anybody have a question? Happy to see a Ranger fan here.
Can you fix the necks?
You know, people say that to me all the time. I left a lot of my heart and soul at the Garden. The hardest thing I ever did in my life, frankly, was leave the Garden to go to Los Angeles. So it was a great opportunity, and I loved it at that. But the Garden is still home to me, and what has been going on there with the lawsuit, which I'm sure you all read about, and you know, the Knicks and these other things, it just breaks my heart. It's really, and especially after a night like last night. God. I was just hoping that the horn would sound at the end of the game there. 50 points, please. That was terrible.
Bobby, could you tell me specific sort of things you did for Madison Square Garden?
Oh, sure. That was my first job out of school. My first job at Madison Square Garden was the senior writer in the public relations department, which was just a glorified title. I was the only writer in the department. They called me senior. It was very nice. But I started in the public relations department and gradually moved up. At the ripe old age of 27, I was named the director of public relations for the Garden. Now, you are going to come across, whether it's teachers, parents, some number of folks in your life who are going to be mentors, people that are going to see something in you, and you're going to remember those people for the rest of time. There is not a day that goes by that I do not think about a gentleman named Al Grant. Mr. Grant, for whatever reason, took a liking to me, and he was the person who promoted me to become Director of Public Relations of the Garden in 1979 when I was 27 years old. I tried to do something every day to live up to his faith in me. It was really a remarkable thing. I moved on into marketing, into operations. I was the vice president of marketing for the Knicks and Rangers at the same time, for the entertainment events. And then I moved into operations and helping to run the building itself. There was really very little that I didn't do at the Garden. I was the backup public address announcer for the Knicks and college basketball. As a matter of fact, I did public address announcing here for a number of years after I graduated. I used to come back up. I would make an excuse, leave on a Friday afternoon to be here in time for the 4 o'clock varsity basketball game. So I did that for a number of years. I did the football games here for a number of years. I also, when I say take a chance, I guess I've lived this. I have to play, ironically enough, with the Celtics and the Knicks, I had to play the keyboard at the Garden once. We had started, we brought back a live musician to the Garden. If you've been to the Garden or any arena, you know there are lots of videos and sights and sounds and music and all of that. That was one of my responsibilities back in the late 80s into the 90s. We had just brought back a live musician. He played a synthesizer, made it sound like the organ. We also had some taped music as well. But back then, the Knicks and the Celtics were the big rivalry at the Garden, really big rivalry. So this would have been 1989 in January, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a 7:30 game, I get a phone call from our brand new keyboard guy. I've got the flu, I can't make the game, you got to do something about that. I said, well, of course, it's only 4 hours from the game, you have to be here, we don't have a backup for you yet, we had just hired this guy. And he said, nope, I've got the flu, I can't even stand up, I'm not coming in, goodbye. So he hangs up. So the only thing that I could think of doing was, and I had not done this in front of people since, I played a little piano concert when I was 12 years old. That was the last time I performed on a keyboard publicly. But at 7:30 that night, I had taught myself all the little cheers, the defense cheer, and all those little bump, bump, bump cheers. I was playing keyboard in front of 20,000 people. Happily, they couldn't see me. And of course, not only did the game go the four quarters, it went into overtime, unlike last night. Went into overtime, and it was a very, very long evening, and one I did not repeat. But so I did quite a few things at the Garden. My final amount of time at the Garden, I mostly spent, I was functioning, I guess, as the assistant general manager, and all those things, along with being on the supervisory team for the Garden's renovation from 1989 to 91, helped qualify me to be the general manager of the new arena in Los Angeles. So, but as I said, the hardest thing I ever did was leave the Garden after 23 years.